Hey there, and welcome to your life file organization exercise. We today are going to do something that a lot of people avoid doing, but I'm telling you, your future self is going to thank you so much whenever you finish this exercise and all of your life documentation is secure, organized, and you have a reference of exactly where it is so that you can go and grab those files anytime that you need them. Trust me, this is one of the most important exercises that you could ever do. I am going to walk you through step by step how to do this exercise with two resources that you can download here. It's the Life Files Checklist and the Life Files Tracker. I'm going to talk through both of those resources briefly just so that you know where we're going, and then we are going to explicitly call out the individual files that you will need to complete this exercise. We have a very straightforward agenda today. We are going to go through the Life Files Checklist so you can see how to use this as you are sourcing and collecting your files either physically or digitally around the house or on your computer. And then we are also going to talk about the Life Files Tracker. This one is really the bulk of this tutorial because this is where you are going to log everything regarding your document storage details and the status of your organization efforts so that you can come back and reference this as needed. And it's got all of your information for the quick references right in one place. It's a super simple activity, but extremely effective. And like I said, your future self is going to be so grateful that you proactively did this ahead of time, because I'm telling you, I have done this. I'm so glad that I know exactly where everything lives so that I'm not going on a scavenger hunt to try to find where my birth certificate is or where my social security number is or where my insurance policies are, or where my warranties are. Like, it's all your documentation that you need. It's all going to be secure in one place. So make sure that you have those two resources downloaded. And then there's two ways that you can approach this video. You can either follow along, pause and do this now so that you just get it done one by one as we go through the documents, or you can watch the whole video, kind of see where we're going, and then come back and do this afterwards. It's up to you. You have everything that you need right now. So with that, we are going to dive in and I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of the documents and how to use them effectively. So if we're looking at your Life Files checklist, this is simply a checklist that you can print out. It's something that you can take with you. And as you are gathering all of these different files under these different categories, you can check that item off so that you can see the progress you're making in that category. So as you're doing this exercise, you know which files that you've already got and which ones you still need to find. So that is the purpose of this checklist. And then the tracker. This is the more powerful tool here because it has all of the individual files that are listed under that checklist, and it's all separated by category as well. Each of those individual files has the opportunity to put the storage location, whether it be a physical location or a digital location. It gives you the opportunity to jot some notes down about where you put it. And if it's a digital location, you can even put the path link or the website itself of where that information is stored. And then it also has the opportunity for you to identify the status of your organization exercise. So when was that file last updated? Or maybe when's the last time that you know that you touched the file? You can kind of determine what's right for you to track. And then you have the organization status. Like, is it something that you still need to find? Is it in queue for you? Is it in progress? Like, are you actively trying to find that file and or like trying to get the information from the right organization that maybe has it? Or is it complete? You know that you have it, it's secured, it's stored properly, completed. So then you can identify, okay, yes, I know that this file is like, it's secured, I have it, it's in the right place. You can effectively just like rest easy knowing it's where it's supposed to be. And then there's any notes if there's any additional context that you need on that file. Up at the top from this files tracker, you can list who this file tracker belongs to. Why? Because I want you to duplicate this file and to use this for your family as well. Not only you are going to benefit from this exercise, but your family probably will too. So if you feel like it's important for them to learn this, share this file with them and they can do this exercise themselves. Or maybe you're the head of the household or you have like children or dependents that you look after and you're kind of in charge of these documents for them. You can duplicate this tab and then you can add their names and repeat this exercise for each of those family members as well. I hope this is sincerely helpful just for all of your family's organization. So feel free to do that if that's a helpful exercise for you. And then you want to mark when's the last time you actually went through the sweep, did this exercise. You want to go ahead and list that in the last updated field above as well. And that's going to really help you whenever you come back to it in the future. And every single one of these documents, they mirror real life responsibilities in moments where, your documentation matters. So the idea here is that this is pretty comprehensive. Not all of them may apply to you, and that's fine, but it's at least here for your consideration if it is something that does apply to your life. And then we're going to go through all of the explicit files in just a second. But as you're collecting them, you need to know how to store them. So my advice to you is if they are digitally going to be stored, take all of the categories that are in this sheet and use them as file template hierarchies. So essentially what you can do is like for all of the finance files, you can put a finance folder, and then all the subsequent files can go under that folder, or you could even have subfolders. Like for example, if you want to keep all of your investment information under one subfolder, you can just create another layer of a folder under that. And then there might even be certain years. So you can even make another subfolder of different years for this exercise. So that's my suggestion, is create one folder for every single category. And then you can have subfolders under that category related to the different types of documents that you have under that category. That's the digital approach. And if you need a secure place to do this, I would say my favorite places are Microsoft. I love their security features on there. Another great place is Google, like Google Drive. It's free and they give you like an insane amount of storage just for free. So if you want to use that, it's great. And I think there's some extra layers of security features you can even pay for on there just to make sure everything's like super, super tidy and secure. Up to you, but those are probably like your best outlet. There might be some other ones that you prefer. That's fine, but I think most of them are paid. And Microsoft is paid too, but it's like pretty reasonable for how much you get in terms of a Microsoft Office subscription. That is the digital route that I would recommend. Now, the physical route. I don't do this often on my courses because I like people to be able to like makeshift things the way that they see fit. However, for this, like, I'm sorry, it's kind of heavy. This is the NOKBOX. I don't even know how many times I like recommended this to people. It's fantastic. And it is so comprehensive and it's wonderful. Keeps all of your files in one place. So the idea is that it's in this nice little protected box, right? You can see it's got a file system that has tabs for everything. So it has your home, your health, your investments, your debt, your income, your assets, family, friends, community, online accounts, et cetera, et cetera. It literally covers everything. And then it also comes with some additional items. So it has like a nice little extra protection zipper bag. And then it has this key system, which is really great. So if you have like multiple physical keys, you can actually label them with that. It comes with that in the package. It also has This is great. It has everything that you need to do step by step to make sure that you collect everything properly. So cool. So awesome. I'm like loving this. And you know what? This is my gift for like everybody now because it's unique and actually valuable. That's the kind of gifts that I like because I know that there's a lot of utility in them. This box, also ton of utility in it. And I can say this with confidence, your people will be just as happy to get this box as you giving it to them because it's so valuable. It's so meaningful and it's very helpful. A little extra recommendation in there. But if you don't want this particular filing system, I paid about $150 for this. They also have different tiers on their website. I will include it below if you're interested. However, if you decide that that's not for you, that's totally fine. You can literally go mimic it on Amazon for like way cheaper. The value in that box is all of the pre-labeled files and the documentation within it and everything. But if you want to do that, you can actually get it so much cheaper if you just go to like Amazon or Walmart, go get a tub, go get a filing system and go label all of the different tabs yourself and have the peace of mind that everything that you need is all in one place. So now that you know how to file it, let's get into what you're going to be filing. So we're going to jump into the life files checklist just because it's like easier to see. However, I would highly recommend, like I said, the life files tracker. That's where you want to put where you're storing everything either digitally or physically. So use the tracker to store everything. But just for the sake of this video, we'll talk through all the documents in the life files checklist. So first and foremost, we have the finance category. So at the top of this list, we have your budget and your wealth plans. These are typically digital files. Just make sure that you have them in a secure place that are easy to reference. Then you have your emergency fund calculation and goal. If you don't have a budget plan or you don't know how to calculate your wealth calculations or your emergency fund goal, I have that in the budget plan template. If you bought the finance course or you have the playbooks for life or you're a part of the community, you will have access to the budget tutorial where it gives you all of the ins and outs of creating a budget and then calculating all your wealth calculations. So you know your targets for your financial freedom, independence, etc. And just use that as your budget plan and emergency fund calculation and goal. If you don't have access to that, I have a YouTube video where you can go and learn the ins and outs of this particular template. So I will link that also below. Next up, we have your bank account details. So this is important in case of emergencies or for your will or trust directive. So like say something happens to you, which like I know we like to think that we're going to live forever, but unfortunately that's not the case. So you want to make sure that this is in a very, very secure place. And typically your power of attorney will have this information so that your people who you want to make sure is inheriting your property will be able to access it properly. It's also just important for any time that you need to wire money to have your bank account information in a very secure but easily accessible spot for yourself. The next thing is your annual bank statements. Contrary to popular belief, you should absolutely download your annual bank statements. This is really important just for your proof of banking with this particular bank, and then for any financial purposes, typically with financial advisors, lenders, etc. This is going to be really important. And then you have a contact information for your bank professionals. I would say it's great to keep a file log of all of your different contacts for all of these different categories, but also just make sure at the bare minimum you have them in your phone, and that phone directory has context on what professional organization that they belong to so that you know how to reference them whenever you go back and need to contact them. I'm just going to say that as a blanket statement for all of the different categories, first and foremost. Next up, we have your financial investment agreements, any annual financial investment portfolio reports. So this is anything for like your retirement accounts, any individual brokerage accounts, any crypto accounts. Like you want to make sure you're keeping those reports so that you can see year over year how things are performing. And also there's probably going to be people who need them in the future. So it's good to have a historical record of them. And then any of your contact information for financial professionals, credit card details, credit card agreements, contact information for those credit card companies. This is especially important if you like lose your card, you want to be able to call them right away and freeze your account or cancel your card. Any of your annual credit card statements. So this is also important again for like historical reporting purposes. And then any loan or debt agreement. So this could be like a student loan, student debt, mortgage, etc. Your repayment history for those loans and debts. Again, really important for any kind of future financial conversations, especially lending. And then contact information for those loan or debt professionals. You want to make sure that you have all of that in a safe place, either digitally or physically. We're going to run through the next few just a little bit faster because there's not the extra context that I needed to provide in this first one. So let's go ahead and move on to the next category of taxes. You're going to collect all of your income tax documents. This is also your personal documents and your business documents. So if you don't have a business, you won't have any like income, sales, or like payroll documents for that business. But if you do have a business, you're probably going to have those things. So you want to make sure that you are keeping tabs on them and saving them properly. And then you want to make sure that you always have your contact information as well. Next up, we have your healthcare. So I would say it's really advantageous to have digital copies of all of your insurance cards as well as physical copies of them. Just make sure that you know where they're located. So for example, you're not going to keep your physical cards in like a box like this. No, you're going to keep them in like your purse or your car because ideally, you need them there for whenever you have an emergency or whenever you're traveling to these offices. So you want to make sure that you have them handy. And then your explanation of benefits. I would save a digital copy of your explanation of benefits because you just never know whenever you're going to need to go reference something and either call the insurance company about it or you're going to need to call the doctor's office about it. I've had to do that several times. So I highly recommend you always save your explanation of benefits because it's very helpful to reference whenever you have to like dispute any kind of claims. And then under this category, we also have things like your vaccination and your immunization records. This is really important, especially if like you're working in the US, they typically require it. So you want to make sure that you have that handy. Any alternative medical, allergy, surgical records, treatment plans, or advanced medical directives. Make sure that you have those in the proper places. And then also list of medications, vitamins, and prescriptions. This is really good just to have handy for whenever you do go into these doctor's visits and or there's an emergency. You also want to list your organ donor registration. This could just even be on your driver's license. If you have that, it should be listed there. And then if you have any other certificates, like a CPR certificate or anything like that, you can add that. You want to make sure, of course, as always, you have all of the contact information for all of your health providers and professionals. And then for all of your insurance policies, just making sure that you are collecting all of the policy information, all the explanation benefit, and all of the contacts for those specific policies. We have your legal and identity documents. So this is things like your citizenship IDs and your certificates. This could be like your driver's license, state IDs, passports, military IDs, visas, green cards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure that you have copies of those digitally and physically. I would highly suggest both. Same for the rest of these. Birth certificate, your social security number, any marital licenses and agreements that you have, your will and your inheritance directives and your trust directives. This is extremely important to make sure that you have in the right place and you tell the right people who are the beneficiaries or your people who are going to inherit your assets or property. You want to make sure that they know where it is for the time, or at least your power of attorney knows where it is so that they can provide the proper guidance for those people who are going to be the beneficiaries or the people who are going to inherit your items in property. Okay. And then again, your power of attorney directives. So this is everything for like medical, legal, any of your letters, will, directives, inheritance, trust, funeral wishes, subscriptions, or account cancellation, transfers, like everything, faith, spiritual, etc. This is your directives for anything after life. And then you have your contact information for your legals professionals stored in your phone and at your fingertips anytime you need them. So make sure that you have that available. This one's kind of a fun and short one, travel. Just have your travel information in a secure but very easily accessible place. You should have every single airlines program, but there's like so many at this point that all the numbers and the letters can kind of get jumbled up. And I know that like I forget like which one goes with which. So you should sign up for every program, like I said, but I think it's really good to have a very easily accessible note on your phone that's locked, that you could access your information for all of these different travel and reward programs and accounts. So that it's just super easy to reference whenever you need to book travel, very simply. If you need a pause at any time, I know that this is like a fire hose of information. Why? Because I don't know, as humans, we have made it so complicated and we need all this documentation, but I give you permission to pause this if you need to and come back. However, I'm going to continue on. We're halfway done. We only have so many more minutes of this video. If you can bear with me, I would highly suggest you do so, and let's just knock this out. Your next category is civic duties. So this is anything to do with your national or your local voter registration, confirmation, information, IDs, etc. Make sure that you have that handy and in the right place. Any information on jury duty summons, if applicable. If you've ever been summoned for jury duty, this will help make sure that you are keeping record of it if you ever need to dispute it in the future. Next thing is service records. So if you have served publicly or you're in the military, there's any other kind of societal service in which you need the records and the proof of your service, make sure that you have those handy. This one is optional volunteer registration records. If you've ever volunteered, if you need to ever prove it, this is helpful to keep on hand. So I would say just do that just in case. And then last, if you have any kind of alternative residency records, this is if you live in one place primarily, but maybe you have a second home somewhere else that's not in the same place that you are. You want to make sure that you have all of your information stored properly, because there may be civic ties or civic responsibilities that are expected in that particular place. But if it's your secondary residence, you might not be obligated to oblige all of those things. So just make sure that you have all of your records handy, just in the case that you actually need it. Next, we're going to talk about your home. So again, much more legal documentation. If you own the home, the title or deed. If you're renting right now, just making sure that you have the rental lease agreement handy, homeowner and renter's insurance, making sure you have the policies, the EOBs, contact information for your insurance professionals. And if you bought the home, any agreements that you have for the home mortgage or the repayment history. And then you always want to have your financial professional information also very readily available. And then your home property tax payment history. You want to make sure that you have all of those records also handy. But then also in this category, we have your home security system information, any contacts for your home security system as well, any HOA agreements, any contact information for HOA representatives. And then this one's a big one. Any appliance and asset maintenance schedules, all of the manuals and the warranties for your different appliances, inside and outside, think of both. And then any contact information for support for those assets. So if you have, like, for example, like HVAC, plumbing, kitchen, laundry, like anybody who is a technician that could support the maintenance of that if something goes wrong, because technology is great until it's not. If something goes wrong, you want to be able to call them instantly and not be searching and like waiting, a long time for service. So that's something that is really good to have at your fingertips. And then last but not least, you want to have your local trash information. And I know you might think like, why? There's actually going to be times that you're probably going to need to call the trash and waste companies. And so it's just great to have their information handy. You'll be surprised that there's going to be times that you need to call your trash and waste, especially like, for example, like say you're getting rid of like a mattress or some other big piece of furniture, like a big tree or something like that. You have to call them to tell them about that. They're not just going to pick it up on the side of the road. Say you're getting rid of your Christmas tree and you're putting it out to the curb. They're going to need to know that so that they can plan ahead for it. And they have the services for it, but you just need to call them for it. So that's something else just to note here. Next, you have your emergency preparedness systems. It seems like a lot of people miss these. So we're going to go over it and make sure that you have these emergency plans readily available for yourself. And actually, if you're interested, I would be really curious in the comments, like if you want me to make templates for emergency plans, let me know, because I'm really considering it, but I'm wondering if the demand's there. So under this category, we have all of the contact information for your emergency contacts. You might just think, oh, this is 911. Well, actually, you have your local fire department, you have your local police station. If you're calling 911 and you are going to a local hospital, you want to maybe call that hospital ahead of time and let them know what's going on. And then, for example, like depending on where you live, maybe you're like near the mountains or near like trails, or maybe you're near the beach beach, there are usually patrols that also you can call for support in case of any kind of emergency. In your home, you also want to have a first aid kit. So making sure that you know where it is in your home. And I would also even recommend there being one in your car. Also, great gift opportunity, emergency kit in your car. Very practical. A home emergency plan. So we have a couple. You have your natural or weather disaster plans, your fire escape maps, you have your intruder or silent alarm activator procedures, you have food and clean water storage. So like, for example, with hurricanes, we always used to like stock up a bunch of water during hurricane season, or like extra food that would last a long time, like in cans and whatnot, just in the case of emergency that the water got contaminated or that the power went out and we needed like easy food that we could eat for a while until we could get power and or the water back. That's another, emergency plan kit that you can prepare for. And then we have your medical emergency plans. So this could be like physical accidents or maybe any even allergic reactions that take place. Like, what is your emergency plan for that situation? Not to consider like all the bad things. It's just to help make sure that you already have a game plan set in place so that it's very easy for you to take action in the moment rather than like trying to make a plan in your head in the moment and then acting on it. You already have a plan up front. You just have to reference it, if anything, or you've already thought through it so that hopefully you can be a little bit quicker on your toes. Next category, vehicles. We have your car title, registration, your insurance cards, your insurance policy, the explanation of benefits, your car license plate. You want to always have a copy of this. I would say having a digital copy is also really helpful, especially for those, like little pesky parking lots where they always require your license plate. So just having that, if you don't memorize it, somewhere very easily accessible. Okay, alternative vehicle titles and registration. So this is like anything like motorcycles, boats, RVs, etc. If you have any of those, just make sure that you have like all the insurance information, the people, and then you have any loan agreements for any of your vehicles and any of your repayment history. And then make sure that you have all the information available for insurance professionals, debt professionals. And then the last thing that I want to call out here, you also want to make sure that you have all of your information for emergency support. So like, for example, roadside assistance, or with your insurance policy, sometimes they'll have like an emergency number for immediate assistance. So you want to make sure that you have all of those logged in your phone. Next, we have your education. So this would apply more to people who are either in school or like are recently graduated. And I mean, even if you're not recently graduated, I think it's great to just have these to hold on to, and great nostalgia, great memorabilia, but also important to reference and or like show your kids one day. So I think there's a lot of like merit to having these and holding on to them. Your school enrollment documentation, your school transcripts, your diploma or GED certificate, any school awards, honors, certificates, accolades, and achievements, letters of recommendation, any tuition payment receipts, any loan agreements, any loan repayment history, and any financial aid awards or grants or scholarship agreements. You just want to make sure that you're keeping tabs on every single one of those things whenever it comes to your education here. Next, we have your personal and life planning. So at the top of this list, we have your life bucket list. And I think it's so important to have this just in a very easily accessible place and to visit it often. I can't stress this enough. It's so good whenever you like visualize you accomplishing these things in your life because it just makes life so much better. Okay, any New Year's resolutions lists that you have, or even maybe any of your vision boards, just making sure that you have those available. And really quick anecdote, I think vision boards are so cool, not only whenever you're looking at a vision board of everything that you want to accomplish, but also have an accomplishments board. Like, just a little side note here, whenever you accomplish something on your vision board, move it to the accomplishments board. And that's going to be such a cool piece for you to be able to like look back and remember all of the wonderful things that got you to where you are now. Maybe if you're not even exactly where you want to be yet with the vision board, like you can still look back and be proud of everything that got you to exactly where you are now. So accomplishments board, just another little extra documentation that you can add here to your list. Next one, your personal mission or vision statement. I cannot recommend this enough. Also, if you have any core values for family, have them all here. Next, you have your letters to loved ones, any legacy style letters especially. So this is where it gets a little somber because like our life is all fleeting, but it's really important that you take care of your people while you can, especially your next generation. Like you're on point for making sure and stewarding their life. So here is your opportunity to share any really great sentiments to your loved ones. And then if you have any funeral or end of life directives, make sure that you have those in the proper place as well. Next, we have your professional and career planning. So these documents, you want to make sure that you are updating these regularly. At the top of the list, we have your professional licenses or certificates. We have your resume and your CV, your LinkedIn drafts, your offer letter, employment contracts, and any kind of repository of kudos, accomplishments, or accolades. Personally for this, like I have a whole folder that's all just a bunch of snips of emails and Teams messages and even like any words that were said, even in meetings that verbally were said that I wrote down. I have this accolades list, and it's so important, not only for your current job and advocating for yourself in performance reviews, but it's so important for you for your next job and the next thing that you're going after. And it's just really nice whenever you have the imposter syndrome that comes in to have that repository of kudos that you can go back to and say like, okay, I'm kind of in my head right now. I can actually do more than I thought that I could. So really great practice to make sure that you're keeping all of that in a nice, neat, tidy space. All right, next up, we have your account security. So this is more of your digital or technology related security. So you want to think of this as like listing any of your account and your subscriptions, especially if we are thinking about the future and us not being here. You don't want to keep paying for like Hulu and Amazon Prime and Netflix, like whenever you pass, right? So you want somebody to go cancel that so that the person that you actually want to get like your inheritance and your money can get that instead of Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and etc. So this is really helpful to have all of this information logged here. And then you have a secure place where your passwords are also stored. I would always say, make sure that you keep a backup. And this is going to be really helpful to make sure that somebody else can come in and kind of like cancel those accounts. And it's also just a great audit exercise for yourself because you might not realize that you're paying for certain accounts or subscriptions that you are. So you can actually save yourself some time and money now by canceling those at the moment. Next, if you own a business, these are all the documents that you need to make sure that you are keeping track of. If you don't own a business, you can skip to the pet section. That's next, but we're going to run through these files really quick. You're going to want to make sure that you have your articles of organization, your annual Secretary of State registration, your operating agreement, your registered agent agreement, your EIN confirmation from the government. You're going to want to make sure you have all of your business licenses and permits, any copyright, trademark, or patent registration information and certificates, any of your business bank account statements, your credit card statements, your financial reports. So this could be like your profit and loss statement, your cash flow, your balance sheet. You want to make sure that you have those annual reports handy. Any tax payment history for income, payroll, sales, property, etc. Your BOI report, your contact information for your business personnel, clientele, and vendors, your vendor agreements, your insurance policies and explanation of benefits, your contact information for insurance professionals, lists again of all of the accounts and subscriptions, securely stored passwords for all of the accounts, multi-factor authentication for all of the accounts, and then legacy directives for your business succession or closure whenever you are no longer here. And if there's any contacts that should be the beneficiaries for any of your digital accounts, that you make sure that you put that in place as well. Next, on a little bit more of a lighthearted subject, and guess what? We have like 2 more and then we're done. Next is pets. Again, this is optional. If you don't have pets, you don't have to pay attention to this section and just skip to the family care, which is the last one, but we're gonna run through this real fast. Adoption certificates, contact information for your veterinarian, any vaccinations, any immunization records, any alternative medical, allergic, or surgical records for them, your pet medications, vitamins, prescriptions, because we love them and they need that too sometimes. And then insurance policies, explanations of benefits, your contact information for those insurance professionals for your pet care, and any pet tracking information. And then last, any pet permit. So for example, if you need a service dog agreement, if you have a service puppy, or if you want to take your puppy to the beach, a lot of beaches require a pet permit. So this is just something to have handy as well. And last but not least, if you have a child or dependent, again, I would highly recommend you repeat this entire exercise for them. But if you are taking care of them and you have specific information that's not on this list regarding them, make sure that you capture it. So like for kids, this could be like daycare information, babysitter information, after school programs. Maybe you're taking care of like an elderly grandparent. So this could be your assisted living agreements, maybe medical agreements, maybe power of attorney agreements. And then if you have any other kinds of dependents, it might be like guardianship, custody information, foster sponsor, etc. Whatever it may be, this is your chance to make sure that you capture all of those unique documents to yourself. And there's actually a page right below this where you can list all of them out and make sure that all of your unique records that are important to you are captured here. And that is it. And I say that as if we didn't go through just like 100 documents that you need to keep track of. But you're probably going through this video and you were like, man, I didn't realize how many documents that there were that we need to keep track of as an adult. Well, the idea is that you have this tracker now. And so you can very easily in that Excel sheet put where all of your documents are stored digitally or physically. Like I said, great option. Again, it's like NOKBOX or something similar. You can makeshift your own, and then creating a digital file system with all of the categories as the file names. And then under that, you could have the subfolders for different topics, and you can have the different years under those subfolders as well. Make sure that you just keep this super clear and plug it in that tracker. If you forget something, you can go and reference it and easily identify where that file is and when the last time you updated it was. Just to review your action items to complete this exercise, for the checklist, you're going to use this Word document and all of the list on this Word document to collect all the physical and digital documents that are relevant to you. Only go on the scavenger hunt for the documents that are relevant to your life. And then for the tracker, which is the Excel document, first add your name and today's date in the corresponding boxes at the top of the sheet. And then for all of those physical and digital documents that you started to collect that are relevant to you, log the document storage details and your latest organization status details in the sheet. As any changes are made or the documents need to be sourced, you can reference this super simply and update the document storage and the organization status details in the sheet as needed. This way, you always know when the last time was that you saw and touched this document or knew exactly where it was. So you never have to question when the last time that you saw it was. The details are right here in the sheet. I hope that you can see that this exercise is going to make you avoid so many future headaches. So if you want to, you can do this in literally a day. It might take you a full day, and that's perfectly fine. But just imagine once it's done, how beautiful and wonderful and organized and like calm and collected you're going to be knowing that you have everything in the right place. If not, my other recommendation is just take one category a week. Take one category a week and just go through all of the files and make sure you have all of them in the right place. They're all updated as you needed, and check those off just 1 week at a time if you're not going to go through it all at one time. Totally understand that because it's a lot. Let's be real. Like, I don't know why we do this to each other as humans to make us have so many things, but we do. The goal here is just to give every document a home. Whenever I was little, like, and we used to play with our toys and kind of, they'd be all over the place. My mom and dad would always say like, that has a home. Like, meaning like when you're ready, like you need to pick it up and you need to put it back where you found it and in its right place, not just anywhere. So the goal here, like I said, is to simply give every document a home. You have your filing system, whatever you choose, just be consistent, choose a system that works for you and anyone else that you might do this exercise for in the future. And then my last piece of advice for you is just after you've done this exercise, come back to this at least once a year and just make sure that all of your files and your documentation is up to date. There's going to be times where you're going to need to like renew information or policies or benefits are going to update, etc. Just make sure at least once a year you take the opportunity to come back to this tracker and just log your latest update and put them in the right places, either digitally or physically. So I hope that you saw the power of this exercise, especially if an emergency happens or heaven forbid, like something happens in the near future. All of this information will be tidied up so that it's very easy for your people to access what they need to in a timely fashion. Your takeaways are that you have two great resources at your fingertips. First, that life files checklist. So print a copy if you need to go scavenger hunt around your home for any physical documents, and you can digitally use the same as the scavenger hunt here on your computer as well and just check them off as you know that you have collected them and they are right next to you. And then you can use the Life Files tracker to organize all of the documents and log the document storage locations as well as the status of your organization efforts in terms of when the last time you checked it was and if you have concluded all of the efforts needed for that particular document. Most people wait till an emergency happens until they actually do something like this, but they wish that they would have had the system in place beforehand. And now, having done this exercise, you do not have to be one of those people, because organizing your life documents, it's like an investment in your future self, in your family, and for anyone who might need to step in and support you one day. So you're doing this ultimately to be prepared, and you are prepared. So give all your documents a home. Great work. I just want to tell you, this is so meaningful for you to be here and for you to invest in yourself like this. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that this hopefully makes your life a little bit easier whenever you need to go grab your birth certificate or your social security number or your insurance policies, and the list goes on. As you know, you've got this. This is the end of the tutorial. Thanks for being here.